Hey guys, and welcome back to the Money Game with AC. In this channel, we talk about stocks, but we also talk about money. How to make it, how to grow it, and how to protect it. In the video, I want to go quickly over two main items that may potentially get next week trading sessions to be really wild and can potentially push the price of AMC to the uptrend. So without further ado, let's get into it, guys. So the actual thing, if you follow the markets closely, last Friday, you may have noticed that around maybe 11 a.m. Central Time, there was a sharp decrease into some of the stocks, not all of them, some of the stocks, but mainly around media stocks. And over the weekend, we found out that it was actually an hedge fund being forced to liquidate the positions because of margin calls. Like the Archegos Capital Management heavily involved into trades of major US listed shares of China companies such as Baidu, Tencent Music, Vipshop, but also Viacom, CBS, and Discovery. Actually, what happened is they were hit by margin calls. If you don't know what a margin call is, when you open up an account to invest in the stock market, you use a broker, Robinhood, Webull, whatever. And sometimes, in order to make to make money, they will charge you a daily interest because if they offer you kind of a line of credit thing, so to use in buy stocks, okay? But the thing is, whenever the prices of stocks that you are invested in drop to a certain extent, like maybe 30%, 40%, it reduces the amount of money or the value of the money you invested initially. And in order to maintain the requirements or to maintain you keeping your positions alive, they will require you to add additional capital. If you don't do that, they will either sell partial of your positions or the total of your positions in order to raise money to close those margin calls, because again, the value of the money you invested of your capital initially decreased with the stock prices sharply selling off or decreasing as well. So that's what happened to this company named Archegos Capital Management, which was heavily invested into stocks of media giants. Now, Goldman Sachs, in the other end, also based on this same margin call thing, was liquidating 10.5 billion worth of stocks in block trades, huge trades, where banks look to find buyers for big stocks positions. So because of these hedge funds forced to liquidate, actually they went through investment banks such as Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley in order to find buyers, and that's how you can sell, because in order to sell you need someone to buy, right? So 10.5 billion, 6.6 of shares of Baidu, Tencent, and Vipshop, and then 3.9 billion of shares of media giant Viacom, CBS, and Discovery, and other luxury fashion retailer stocks as well. So this is a good sign for AMC because this is how it's connected to AMC. If the hedge funds, with the markets being on a fear mode, and by fear mode I mean not knowing what the future will play out. Whenever investors in the market don't know exactly how something going to be, how the near future is going to plan out, they tend to freak out. And whenever they tend to freak out, it means they have to sell, or they're selling some of the positions. And whenever they sell some of the positions, because they want to raise, they'll rather sit on cash in order to wait for the crisis or the uncertainty to pass before they can feel comfortable again to put the money back into the market. Okay, so if the hedge funds, such as this company, Archegos Capital Management, that are involved in AMC, because we've known in the past days with the dark pools, Discovery, that Citadel, for example, in January, shorted AMC with more than 1 billion shares. 1 billion shares, if you multiply that by the share price, it's 10 billion. So if hedge funds, because of the market being on a fear mode, because of people not really knowing how, it's going to play out and being, kind of on a selling mode, as we've seen these past weeks of March, then they may potentially also be in the same situation of this fund, meaning they have some margin calls because it costs money to maintain such a huge amount of money, especially if AMC is not really going back to earth or back to death, back to the ground like they are betting on, because of this whole battle between the buying pressure of the retailers like you and me and them, the shorts. Okay, so if they are in a position where they're starting to really feel the pressure of the huge debt they went under in order to continue to sustain and hold those heavily short attack on AMC, then they will be also forced potentially to liquidate some of those positions, meaning they will have to get out of the short, and that means buying millions of shares or even billions of shares. Now, I'm not saying we'll definitely see that this week happen in terms of, billions of shares, because if that will happen, then we'll definitely see AMC going back to the moon. But I'm saying we can potentially expect AMC to go back up or to have upper trading sessions next week, not as the one we saw, on the early last week of Monday, Tuesday, where every single day we were down 15%. So potentially every single day we may see prices that will bring us closer to maybe that 15, 20 share price or share mark. Now, it will take much more time for those hedge funds, because I think they will not just fold like, okay, you got me, I'm going down. No, they will fight till the end, because the amount of money involved, it's really out of what you and I can really think or imagine in our entire life. But for them, it's not as easy. So because of these guys, it may end up being a really interesting week for AMC. But for the market in general, it will be interesting, because not only because of this, we also have some of the some other events that may potentially end up being also maybe bullish for some industries, sectors, and bearish for some others. For example, if you look at what's happening with the Suez Canal, it's having, if you haven't really heard about this, guys, there is a big ship, actually the biggest in the market, having tons of goods, on containers that were supposed to come from Asia and delivered to Europe and to the Americas. But the fact that it's really stuck in the middle of the Suez, which is not that big, it's been there for 5 days now, and there are expectations of that being still stuck for the next week to come. So that means if goods cannot be delivered on time, it means it's costing money to some of those companies. And if they're costing some money of some of these companies, it also means bad news for people who invested in those companies. We have like oil, which will not be bad, because in a way it will be good because it's of the whole supply and demand thing. But think about it as inflation, because these goods will not be delivered on time. It will make the prices of some of these goods there, rise, because it will create scarcity around those goods that are on that containers. Not only that containers, but also those other those other ships that were supposed to go through this same canal and could not do that because this whole thing is stuck in the middle, right? So they have to go to another route, which may end up being either costly, definitely, and will take much more time. So that whole thing, on top of the inflation thing, on top of the rates, on top of the Fed, on top of the whole variants on Corona over to Europe, the vaccinations not being really as effective as it was supposed to be in Europe and other parts of the world, it creates uncertainty. So as I mentioned, it may be positive for some of the industries like oil. It may be negative for some of the other industries, especially on supply chain or trade or commerce or everything. But it may end up having a strain on the markets. And if prices of stocks continue to go down at a point, those hedge funds involved into AMC might also be forced to, liquidate at least partial of their positions, creating a uptrend on the share price of AMC and other stocks that are heavily shorted as well. So that's what I want to share with you guys. So brace yourself for next week. I'm not saying it will exactly happen as I am, because I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just anticipating based on what the facts I'm just sharing with you guys. So feel free to let me know what you guys intend to do with AMC and other stocks as well that you may hold as we watch with this video. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care. Bye bye.